the Knight.
Night.
This guy's been the center of discussion since the release of Chapter 3 and 4. Technically, he's been the center of discussion for a long time now, but 3 and 4, we physically got to see him, so, he really blew up after that. People are really trying to rack their brains on who could this be. Is it Des? Is it Carol? Is it fucking Rudy? After time has passed, many people have settled on that this is Des. But there is also still one other character that's a pretty popular pick. Can you guess who it is?
Okay, tell me.
Both jokingly and seriously, Papyrus has been thrown around as a character who could be the Knight, and the entire basis of the theory is the fact that Papyrus has just been gone. He's really the only major character from Undertale to not really make an appearance in Deltarune. He's occasionally alluded to, he's even brought up directly on the Steam page, but even after 4 chapters, he's nowhere to be seen. It's reached a point where it feels like there's an important reason as to why. But even if that's true, even if it is building up to something, that doesn't mean that he's the Knight. He could be playing many different other roles, ones that we can't really predict since it might only become clear once the actual chapters come out. And if I'm being completely honest, I also don't think he's the Knight. I think it's gonna be Des. It just makes the most sense to me. But hey, what if he was the Knight? Let's say we make it to Chapter 5, the Knight's defeated, we have them tied up, we take off the mask Scooby-Doo style, and the face that stares back at us is this. What story would you tell with that? That's what I want to do with this video. If Toby Fox broke into my house and told me that Papyrus was the Knight and it was my job to write a story about it, how would I do it? This is a pretty big question to ask in an overall simple video, but I'm not going to go into extreme detail outlining every little action or something. It's just going to be the broad strokes. No need to write every line of dialogue or something. So I've been struggling on how to approach this, but honestly, I think the best way for me to go about it is just kind of yell my idea out of the top of the rooftops and then just try to explain myself from there, okay? Are you ready? Here we go. I think that the Knight, in this case Papyrus, would be used as a puppet to act as the Knight and is ultimately being controlled by the true person behind all this, Des.
Great googly moogly, it's all gone to shit!
Have I lost you entirely? Have you already clicked off the video? Is anyone still here? That definitely seems like an out there idea, and honestly, I admit this idea sort of still makes Des the Knight, but it's not just because I think that she's going to be the Knight ultimately. I do have another reason for why I'm making her the one behind this whole puppeteering thing, which I'll get to a little later. Here's my idea that would make it worthwhile. What happens when you have 2 characters going through very similar predicaments, but they have entirely different viewpoints on it? I should note that what I'm about to describe is a normal route scenario. I'll cover the weird route later. Chris is being controlled by us, and they're not exactly the biggest fan. They have no interest in understanding what this little soul thing is at all. We don't know why they need us, but they need us, and that's all they see us as, a tool. A tool they don't even really like, a tool that they just kind of have to use. Meanwhile, Papyrus, despite being forced to do all this horrific shit against his will, does want to understand why the person controlling them is doing all this. He doesn't want to take revenge. He wants to come to an understanding. Maybe even try to get them to change their views and become good. I think having these clashing viewpoints on the same situation would be interesting. I can see Chris realizing Papyrus is in the same situation as them and feeling sympathy for him, but then get caught off guard when they find out that he holds no resentment towards the person doing this, even when they're making him do far worse stuff than the soul did to Chris. Once again, weird route notwithstanding. And of course, Papyrus explains his thought process. He sees good in all people. He doesn't want to defeat the bad guy. He wants them to change for the better. I think there'd be another layer on top of this too. Papyrus saying this out loud wouldn't really be enough to get Chris to change their mind, right? A single speech would not do much. So I think it'd be revealed halfway through that Des is controlling Papyrus. I think that reveal would leave Chris with a lot of complex emotions. Even if Chris was aware that Des was behind the scenes doing stuff, they probably wouldn't have known about this. At least in my scenario, they wouldn't have. This whole thing of controlling someone else would leave them with a lot of complex emotion. Do they hate Des the same way they hate the soul for taking someone's will and life away from them? Or do they still want to help them? Would it be hypocritical for them to forgive Des and try to come to an understanding, but not with the soul? I think while being confused, this is what Papyrus's conversation will help them with. Give them a moment of clarity. If Papyrus wants to help understand, despite Papyrus not even knowing who Des is, but still wanting to try, then this might be the moment where Chris's attitude towards us would start to change. Not that they'll become buddy-buddy with us, but they won't be beating us with a stick anymore. I think Papyrus would be used as a turning point for Chris's character. He'll be important for this chapter, used in a way that would make his absence and build-up satisfying, but not in a way that would take over the story and it starts to surround him and Sans or something. It'd be pretty isolated to this chapter specifically. In a way, it kind of be handled similarly to how Gerson was handled in Chapter 4. He's a pretty important character, helped the gang, gave Susie advice to help her grow, but still in a way that kept him in a very clear supporting role. I mean, Papyrus would still probably be a little bit more involved since he's literally the knight, but I think the idea would be the same. A character from Undertale helping build up the main cast of Deltarune, not shoving them aside. I should briefly go over what I think would happen in the weird route with this. Basically, I just think the inverse would end up happening. Rather than Chris coming to some sort of realization or change, they would manage to convince Papyrus that understanding is not worth it. After what the soul has done to them and what it forced them to do, the last thing they want to do is understand it, Des, or anything related to it. I think they would come to really dislike Des in the weird route, maybe even hate her for all of this. They would explain to Papyrus their own experiences, what happened, which would probably be worse with this chapter since I'm sure more weird root stuff will be here, which will further fuel Chris' disdain for us. And in terms of the broad strokes, yeah, that's really all I have to say about this idea. You know, I realize that there's probably holes that you can poke into this story. Like, would Sans really not notice if Papyrus is going around, like, doing all this shit, even if it's against his will? I mean, maybe he does, but I feel like we get a little bit more of an inkling that he's kind of in on what's going on, but I really don't think we've seen any of that with Sans. I genuinely think he's completely out of the loop. You could also argue that the whole, like, being controlled by somebody else and, like, the puppet thing is already similar to Spamton. Like, sure, these two ideas are very different, but I don't know, it still feels like it might be treading old ground we've already been before. And finally, I don't know, it'd be awfully convenient for Chris, who's going through this very unique, otherworldly thing, just so happens to come across another character that is also going through a similar thing, and they just talk it out like it's a fucking digital circus episode. Still, if Papyrus was the knight, this is how I would approach it if I was in charge of writing it. Good thing that I'm not. Well, anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about that idea. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. Give me engagement. Engagement bait. Engage me. Wait, hold on, stop. Before we end the video for realsies, I just want to say this is the first time I'm editing in DaVinci Resolve. Adobe kind of crapped out on me, and there's really no way for me to fix it. And I can't just like ask Adobe for help because it's been a little bit of a process kind of relearning and editing things. So I'm just like, for this video, I'm going to ask that if you did like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTuber stuff. It really does help out a lot. Okay, goodbye. I won't bother you again. See ya.